Joshua 6:15. Joshua 6:15. Joshua 6:15. Oh, and the R.A. Torrey books came in. The whatever they're called. Yeah, the little. What's it called? That one. Yeah, it's here. So we are Joshua 6, verse 15. We need some AC in here. Did that ever get turned on?
No.
Mm-hmm. And it came to pass on the seventh day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. So here we go. This is the final leg of the journey. Jericho's going to come down. And this process was a weird one. God likes to do odd things with us. I mean, what army gets to just march around someplace without any strategic battle plan? And then on one day, the last day, they march around 7 times. Well, that's God's idea of entertainment. I mean, he's enjoying it as much as he's instructing. We see things as, from our viewpoint, everything has to make sense or not make sense. But not necessarily, because we're not running the show. Nobody is due, and we're not due an answer. God is the one making the decisions. We just follow, or we're supposed to. The Old Testament name for Joshua, of course, is Jesus, and he compassed the city. This is the old city of would be in type like Babylon, like he's going to do in the end of the tribulation at Armageddon. In 2 Peter 3:8, we see, "But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." So if we equate the 1 equals 7, here you've got a picture of 7,000 years. The end of 7,000 years, the wicked city's coming down. Babylon will be destroyed. On the 7th day, the city came down like in Daniel's 70th week. And you find that in Daniel 7, verse 24. Daniel 7:24. He said, "And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall rise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first. And he shall subdue 3 kings." Got all those numbers? Me either. "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High," though that's definitely happening, "and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given unto his hand until a time and times and dividing of time." That'd be 3.5 years. And the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. "And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom it is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him." So, just like we saw Joshua do, that's exactly what God's going to do. Jesus Christ is going to come back just as Joshua was, and he's going to destroy a wicked city, Babylon, and the inhabitants are going to serve him. That's exactly what God did with Israel. When Israel would go in to take a nation, he says, when you go in to attack a place, first declare peace to the nation. What? When you're on the attack, declare peace? Yeah, the peace you're declaring is, do you want to give up and serve me, or do you want me to come in there and kill you? You make a choice. But that was God's idea of peace. Well, he's going to come back, and he's going to be the Prince of Peace. So the people who are willing to serve him will be able to serve him, or be destroyed. They get a choice. The post-trib rapture is in this as well. You find Matthew 24 talks about that. The Feast of Trumpets is a picture of that. In the 7th month, this Feast of Tabernacle will more than likely give us the date for the second advent, when Jesus Christ comes back. Leviticus 23:24. Speak unto the children of Israel. Did I tell you where we are? Leviticus 23:24. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. Well, that's exactly what they did when they took the city. The 7th time around, they blow their trumpets and down it comes. Okay, more than likely this is referring to, in type, Jesus Christ coming back at the second advent. Now, not rapture. Rapture is an event that is whenever he decides. That could be right now, let's hope. But the second advent, there is a date for. Now, I'm not going to set a date, but I'll come close to it. There is, yeah, no, not the second advent. We've got to be gone for 7 years. The second advent, there's several things that have to happen, and he starts giving you dates and numbers. So you can figure that out. That's why Paul says, we're not ignorant of the times and seasons. He says, the times and seasons, brother, you have no need that I write unto you, because you're not ignorant of that, or we shouldn't be. In Matthew 17, verse 1-4. The time they marched around the city wall is very important. He starts setting up 6, the number of man, and 7, the number of completion and destruction, way early on in the Bible. And I'm just going to show you several things that that point to. Matthew 17, verse 1. After 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into an high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, one for Elias. Peter just had to say something. But he's showing you there. Look at it in verse 1. After 6 days. There's that 6 again. And then something happens on the 7th. Something happens on the 7th is glorification. Okay, that's what's going to happen after 6,000 years in the 7th. That will be millennium, the real glorification. Jesus' ministry begins at the Feast of Tabernacles. All of these things are starting to line up. Once you start putting all these pieces together, you start having a clear picture of what he's saying. Jesus' feast begins at the tabernacle in Zechariah 14, verse 16-19. Zechariah 14, 16-19. He says, And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations that came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, there's only one feast that gets remembered for eternity. It's the Feast of Tabernacles. That's tabernacle. You know what tabernacle means? It means to dwell. He'll tabernacle with you. He'll be in the midst of them. In verse 17, And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague, wherein the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be a punishment of Egypt, and the punishment of all nations that come not up to the Feast of Tabernacles. So God's serious about the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, there's a bunch of feasts that God has. Why is he picking on tabernacles? There's something special about it. It happens in the 7th month. Okay, something special happens at the end of 7. We already know what that is, the second advent. In Exodus 25:9. Exodus 25:9, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall you make it. So when they made that tabernacle on earth, it was because he was excited about a date that he called Tabernacle, Feast of Tabernacle. And it's going to be so exciting for him, he's going to discontinue all the other feasts, but he's going to hang on to that one. That one's special. Well, that's the reason he made man. He wanted to have a human to communicate with, to be amongst and dwell with. And that's what he's going to do for eternity. In Leviticus 23 through 24. Leviticus 23 to 24. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial blowing of the trumpets, and holy convocation. Now you've got to note something in the Bible. A lot of times Sabbath does not mean Saturday. Sabbath just means a day set aside as holy to God. Sometimes they would have 2 Sabbaths in 1 week. Okay? So that doesn't mean that they had 2 Saturdays in 1 week. Okay? He's showing that he can decide what a day is and what it's not. And he does it repeatedly. In Leviticus 23:27, he says, Also on the 10th day of the 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Verse 34. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 15th day of the 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. He's putting all these feasts. If you'll look at the feast in the Bible, you'll see that they're not grouped equally. He'll put one at the beginning, and then you'll go another one immediately. You've got the Passover. When's the Passover happen?
14th of Abib.
Abib 14th, which is the 1st month. So it'd be like, it's not our time of the year is January, but it would be like our 1st month, January 14th. Now I'm going to find this so I don't tell you wrong. Okay, so that'll be Passover. Immediately after Passover is 7 days of what?
Unleavened bread.
Unleavened bread. Okay, that's number 2. Now that's all in supposedly January, but it's not January, but we'll call it that. Abib. Then after that, we have first fruits. Okay, that's not going to happen yet until Abib the 17th. So you're cramming all of these feasts right in up at the front. We got a whole year to go. Why are we cramming them all in at once? He knows what he's doing. Then after that, you get what's called the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost, because it'll happen 50 days after the last feast, the Feast of First Fruits. And that'll be the 3rd month on the 16th day. Savant is the name of the month. Then you get in the 7th month. Okay, so we're going a bunch of months without anything? I mean, that's always what I thought in school, you know. All the holidays seem to hit all at once. Why can't we spread these things out and, even out the year and, just go 3 days a week or something? But that's the same thing God did here. The tabernacle, Feast of Tabernacle, happens, you have first, in the 7th month, the 1st day, is the Feast of Trumpets. Then on the 10th day, you have the Feast of Atonement. And then on the 15th to the 22nd, you have Tabernacles. He crams them all in there. He wants to show you how important that 10th month is. Now for us, what's important is the first one. The first month is where we get 3 feasts back to back. Why? Because it's important for us that Jesus Christ came down and he was our Passover. And then how to live the life of unleavened bread without leaven in our day-to-day life. Those are all good things, important for human walk down here. But where his aim is the 7th month. The 7th month is where he gets to have everything just the way he had wanted it to begin with. God with man. And that's where you find all that. Okay, let's see. I've got a bunch more verses on that. You can jot this down if you're taking notes. 1 Kings 8:2 and Ezra 3:4. That's more on the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, Joshua 6:21. Didn't know all that was in one little verse, did we?
The whole Bible.
That's right. Joshua 6:21. We're moving right along. 15 minutes, we finished one verse. Joshua 6:21. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, ox, sheep, and ass, with the edge of the sword. That's a tough thing, but that's what God said to do. So that's what they did. They destroyed it all. But then that's what you have to do with wickedness. Destroy it all. Don't leave any that you think is harmless, because there's no such thing as harmless wickedness. Even the animals, he said, get rid of them. The women, the children. He said this place is so consumed with wickedness that none of it is innocent. Destroy it all. Now, if there were any innocent children there, say a baby, a baby hadn't done anything wicked. It's gone on to a safe place for sure. You don't have to worry about it growing up and becoming rebellious, that all of its kinfolk just got killed by this nation that now it has to serve. So it's a good thing for the child. They get to go on up to heaven. Well, at that point they would go to paradise, but you know what I mean.
Whereas if they had grown up in that culture,
Mm-hmm.
they would have more than likely chosen to follow
Mm-hmm.
what was around them.
Yep. In Joshua 6:21, we find some animals given. He said the ox, the sheep, the ass. In your Bible, you'll find a lot of animals. And animals are a type of something. Just like trees typify things, animals typify things as well. The ox in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 9 to 10. 1 Corinthians 9, 9 to 10. A good minister, according to the Bible, is an ox. 1 Corinthians 9, verse 9 to 10. For it is written in the law of Moses, Thou shalt not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treadeth out the corn. Doth God take care of 4 oxen? Or saith he it altogether for our sakes? For our sake, no doubt, this is written, that he that ploweth should plow in hope, and he that thresheth in hope should be partaker of his hope. He's talking there to ministers. He's calling them an ox. That's the type he's given. An unsaved minister, because the devil has ministers too. A wicked, even a saved minister who's doing the work of the devil, and there's plenty of those, is considered a bull. A bull. Psalms 22:12. Psalm 22:12. Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset me around. Okay, those were the ministers of the devil doing the devil's work to destroy Jesus Christ, only they failed. A false prophet, that's a dog. All these animals in the Bible, because you see them, just like the trees. He says, I'm going to show you what this means in the Bible so that you'll be out there in nature and you'll see these things and I can talk to you. So we see these animals and we should be thinking, what did God say about that? What did God say about that? A dog is a false prophet. 2 Peter 2:22. 2 Peter 2:22, and you have to read the whole chapter to get the full impact of this. I'm just going to give you the punchline. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. Okay, there's no change. They've just turned right back to the world. If you vomit something, this is going to be real. Glad we're all done eating. If you vomit something up, it's because your stomach said it's no good, we're getting it out. Okay, why would you return to it? Okay, that's somebody who has either begun a ministry correctly and then returned to the filth that they should have gotten rid of and stayed away from, or it's a wicked minister of Satan who knew what he was doing and his end is as his works. A false prophet is also wolves. A wolf is not a good thing. You find all these people they just naturally want to gravitate toward wicked things. And you'll see people put up pictures of wolves as though they want to be a wolf. That is satanic. You don't want to be a wolf. A wolf is wickedness according to the Bible. In Matthew 7:15. Matthew 7:15. Just studying nature, you would know that the wolf is not a nice animal. You don't want to be a wolf. Why would you want to be a wolf? Why would you want to identify yourself as a wolf? Because there's something more at play than just your mind. You're not even thinking that up. Somebody else thought it and handed it to you, and you bought it hook, line, and sinker. Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. Okay, a wolf is not a good thing. They're false prophets. A hypocrite is a snake, according to the Bible. Matthew 23:33. Matthew 23:33. This chapter uses the word hypocrite more than any other in the rest of the Bible. Matthew 23:33 says, "Ye serpents," okay, there's your snake, "ye generation of vipers," he's covered all of them, the poisonous ones and the non-poisonous ones, "how can ye escape the damnation of hell?" Okay, you want to identify with that? You want to be buddies with a serpent or a snake or a viper? A poisonous one or a non-poisonous one? He says they're heading somewhere straight to hell. Okay, I'm going to leave them alone. I'm going to do just like we were talking about. I'm going to chop them up in little pieces. Men, just the general public, is a fish, according to the Bible. Matthew 4:19. Matthew 4:19. "And he saith unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Okay, you get to fish for men. Men are also birds, and unclean birds are satanic spirits. There's too many things for me to go through. When you get the book, I need to order books still. I'll get money and we'll do that. But when you get the book, you'll see all of the list. I can't go through every verse on it. I'm just going to tell you what they are. Sheep, of course, are Christians. The Holy Spirit is likened to a dove. Eagles are likened to prayer warriors. Unclean spirits are fowls. It's just endless. So just notice those things when you go through, because God will talk to you. You'll be out there and there won't be a thing on your mind, and you'll be thinking, what should I be thinking about? And along comes a dog, or you see a picture of a wolf, or a dove flies by. Well, your mind should start clicking. God's talked about those things and told you what they picture. He's telling you, I want you to start thinking about this. Be prepared for this thing to happen in your life. Okay, those are good things from God if you've got God's word on it, but not some mystical garbage that the world makes up. It's got to be rooted in truth. Joshua 6, verse 26. Joshua 6:26. He says, "This city of Jericho is bad. It's just horrible. And I don't ever want it to be built again." But guess what? It happened. It got built again. But he gives them a curse on the city. Watch what he says. Joshua 6:26. "And Joshua adjured them at that time, saying, Cursed be the man before the Lord, that raises up and buildeth this city Jericho. He shall lay the foundation thereof in his firstborn, and in his youngest son shall he set up the gates of it." Woo. He said, if somebody's going to rebuild this city, they're going to do it on their children. Bad news. 1 Kings 16:34. 1 Kings 16:34. Says, "In his days did Hiel the Bethelite build Jericho." Well, it was cursed, so guess what? He laid the foundation thereof in Abiram, his firstborn, and set up the gates thereof in his youngest son, Segub. if I'm saying that right, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake by Joshua the son of Nun. Whew. Be careful. It's important to know what God says. You know, there's certain things that are cursed in the Bible, and you need to know what they are so you don't mess with them. Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be set up in?
That means they poured concrete for the gate, and the child was in the concrete. Yep. That's how they killed him. Nice dad.
I mean, I don't know, this is so weird. Like, the basically whether did like some freak accident happen where he died automatically and was poured in it, or did
Nope.
it purposely?
He did it on purpose.
They were pretty barbaric.
That's the way the pagans are. That's the way they always have been.
So you have Jericho built, and it's there now,
Mm-hmm.
modern city,
Yep.
still on that one.
Yep. Now, what they thought they did was they thought they were going to be slick and smooth. And they didn't build it on the old property line. That's called the old city of Jericho, where the walls came down. The Jericho you find now is not in the same place. It's moved over. But it didn't matter. God says if you're going to rebuild the city of Jericho with the purpose of rebuilding the city of Jericho, it's going to be in your sons, in your firstborns. It's how you're going to lay the wall, and then your youngest sons, how you're going to lay the gate. And that's what they did. Joshua 7, verse 1. Know the things God's cursed and stay away from them. One of them's alcohol. Know what they are and stay away from them. God's promised to curse. If God's promised to curse it, he's not God if he doesn't. So it's not mean of God. He's told you ahead of time. It's our fault if we don't know what it is. Joshua 7, verse 1. But the children of Israel committed a trespass and the cursed thing for Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zeri, of the tribe of Judah, took the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel. Achan, who was his dad and who was his granddad and great-granddad? I don't know either. He gave you all the names, though. It was only one man, but God considered the smallest amount of sin as a pollution for the entire nation. He was going to destroy Israel because of Achan. Now that doesn't seem fair, but it is fair, because that nation was supposed to be God's messengers unpolluted. They were supposed to be the earthly example of heaven. And when you let in satanic things, God says, no, we ain't doing that. That's not what I picture. Exodus 4:22. Exodus 4:22. God views Israel as a nation, as one individual. Now, this gets a little confusing because he views the whole nation as a whole, as one thing, and I'll show it to you in this verse. Exodus 4:22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. Okay, so Israel, the nation, is God's viewing it as his son collectively. So that's why you find many wicked people in Israel that don't go to heaven, but many that will make it through the tribulation and will go right on in. But a lot of them don't. But he said in Romans 11:25 and 26 that all of Israel will be saved. Well, all of them that are left. Individuals get to choose how they function, but as the nation, the body itself, he has plans for it. He calls it his firstborn. Joshua 8, verse 18. Just take note of that because you'll see it throughout the Bible, and you've got to differentiate between God talking corporately and individually. When he's talking corporately, that whole corporation could have one bad seed in it, could have 2 or 3 bad people in it. You find the Levites, they're God's representatives if ever there were, but you find a bunch of them that he destroys. So even there, the corporation doesn't make the man. The individual can still be apostate. Joshua 8, verse 18. The Lord said unto Joshua, Stretch out thine spear that is in thy hand toward Ai, for I will give it unto thine hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that he had in his hand toward the city. You remember what Moses did? Moses was all the time carrying around what? A rod, right. And that's what he used. Had you rather be under Moses or under Joshua? Joshua doesn't have a stick to hurt you with. He's got a spear. He's serious. He's bad news. Well, guess what? That's pictures again. The Word of God, the law, was what they were supposed to follow in the hands of Moses. And when they rejected that, they got Jesus Christ. And when Jesus Christ came to earth, he gave them a spear. It pricked their hearts. Everything he had to say was pricking their hearts. It was anti what they wanted to hear. The Beatitudes. They didn't want any of that. They wanted, let's take over and let's kill these Romans and, set this thing up. And he came in preaching just the opposite of what they wanted. Well, he had a spear in his hand, and he was going to town with it.
Is that why he liked what Phineas did?
Yeah, right. Phineas. He, skewered him. The first witness for God, Moses, is the type of Christ at the first coming, and he used a rod. Joshua is the type of Jesus who will come at the second coming, and he comes to destroy. And he does. He uses a sharp, two-edged sword proceeds out of his mouth. That's what he says. Joshua 9, verse 6. Joshua 9, verse 6. Right after a great victory, you got to watch out. It's just the second you think you've figured something out, and you may really have, and the second you've gotten some sin taken care of and you're feeling good, look out. The devil doesn't just quit then. That's when he comes in more sneaky. Here's what happens with Joshua. They've gotten the AI thing under control. They've gotten rid of Achan. The camp is pure and holy again, and everything is great. Hurrah, hurrah. Joshua 9:6. And they went to Joshua unto the camp at Gilgal, and said unto him, and to the men of Israel, we be come from a far country. Now therefore make a league with us. Okay, here comes a party. This party is from where? Jerusalem. They come in and they say, hey, we're going to, we want to make a league with you because we've been hearing all this stuff you've been doing. You've just been destroying everything. Well, what are you trying to make a league with us for, So we're from a long way away. We like what you're doing, man. More power to you. And then they tricked him. Well, he shouldn't have been trying to work on the brain power. Brain power will get you in trouble. It all has to be, even when you're trying to do something spiritual, it's got to be checked. We listened through Job again today. And one of the things that strikes me in the book of Job is it's good advice that God says is no good. Good advice. Job starts saying some things that you would say, hey, wait a minute, we got to talk about that. You're going to get rebellious against God? Then we got to have a chat. Well, God said that it wasn't time for them to be having a chat about it. So it wasn't necessarily that what they were saying was wrong, because a lot of what they were saying was absolute right. It wasn't their place to say anything. That's the tough thing, is to know between you and God when you've got to go ahead to do something or not. That's what's going on here. Joshua thinks, hey, I've been making all these decisions. Things are working out right now. Here's another one. I'll just do what makes sense. He didn't ask God about it. Don't make decisions. Don't even try to witness. Now, I don't mean it. You should be witnessing, but don't try to advise somebody biblically until God gives you the go-ahead. And how? And how? Otherwise, it's just human. It's humanism. Luke 15, verse 13. They said, we're from a long way away. This country you don't even know anything about. It took us so long to get here, our bread all molded. We took it fresh out of the oven when we started this trip, and now it's croutons. Luke 15:13. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. There's that far country again. That far country is really probably not very far, but it's far from where it should be. The far country that Joshua got duped by was just down the road from him. The far country that will entice you with rebellion is probably not very far from you at all, but it's a very long ways from where you should be. In Joshua 9, verse 22. Joshua 9:22. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, Wherefore have ye beguiled us? You know, that's what the serpent does. Saying, We are very far from you when you dwell among us. Look out for what's right around you. Right around you is a far country. That far country is as close as looking in the mirror. It's in your flesh. The second you start giving into it, you've gone to the far country. It's there. In Proverbs 29, verse 3. Proverbs 29, verse 3. He says, Whoso loveth wisdom rejoiceth his father. So, if we are the sons of God, like he says we are, then we should love wisdom. Well, he's the only one that's wise. You'll find repeatedly he's called the only wise God. Okay? So, he gave us a book of wisdom. We should be loving it. He said, if you'll do that, it'll rejoice your Father. Is God happy with you? That's one way to make him happy, is to love his wisdom. The other side of the coin. But he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance. It's to your detriment. It's spent. You've wasted anything you had. You're going backward, not forwards. And that didn't say he was doing anything wrong. It says keepeth company. That's just the people I'm hanging with. He didn't say that he was being a whoremonger. He said he was just keeping company with harlots. So that's bad. So you got to watch your friends. You got to watch who you hang with. If you're hanging with a wicked crowd, God says you're part of the wickedness. Unless you're reproving the wicked crowd, then you're part of it. Now, you find when Jesus came, the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the Herodians, they all had great things to say against him. And one of them was he keeps company with the wrong crowd. He should know better. Okay, well, that was true. He was amongst the wrong crowd. It was those who knew they were sick that needed a doctor, and he was there to do the work. However, there's a difference. He wasn't there to hang out and have fun. Big difference. He was there with a mission, to reveal to them their need and then supply the answer. Now, you can do that. You can go find some wicked people with the one goal in mind to reveal to them their need and give them the answer. That's not companying with them. That's not there to impress them or to be on their 500 favorite list. It's for one purpose, something bigger than humanity. Joshua 9, verse 17. And I would put this verse in there with all these names in it. Joshua 9:17. And the children of Israel journeyed and came into the cities on the third day. Okay? What day did they come in? The third day. Third day is important in your Bible because it's going to pop up all the time. And you're going to need to know it. So we'll just look at it here. Now their cities were Gibeon, that one, and that one. Chepariah, and Berioth, and Kirjath Jearim. Okay, the third day is a reference or a picture of the millennium, and these Gentiles that were fooling Joshua, they did something wicked. They fooled Joshua. However, they got something great out of it. They did. You know what they got to do? They got to be servants in the temple. If you were going to be a servant, that'd be the best place to be a servant. That's a good deal for their part. I think about the woman, the Gentile woman that grabbed Jesus, and he says, "I'm not going to give my bread to the dogs. You know, it goes to the children, not the dogs." He's calling her a dog, and she says, "Yeah, but dogs get crumbs. Drop something down here." And he says, "You got me on that one. Here you go. What do you want?" Okay, this is what happened with these Gentiles. These Gentiles came up with an elaborate scheme to not be killed by Israel, and they got blessed for it. Now, they did have to be servants, but they got servants' quarters that were like none other, right in the right place. In the millennium, the Gentiles get a good deal too. Israel, of course, is going to be on top, and they're going to be running the show, and they're going to be doing just what God said they would. However, the Gentile gets a good spot too. He gets to be overseen by one of the 12 tribes. There's 12 Gentile nations. One tribe from Israel will be responsible for one nation in eternity. And Joshua 9:23, he says, "Now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be free from being bondmen and hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God." Okay, so the Gentiles do get a good deal. Even though they're in servitude, well, aren't we all? They're in servitude to God. Well, they got in good. God was not mean to Gentiles. You find Gentiles all the way through the Bible getting blessings from God. So while the Bible and God was focused on Israel as a nation, he was still not being cruel to Gentiles.
No, and if they converted,
That's right. Mm-hmm.
they will reap the benefits.
In Matthew 24:33. Matthew 24:33. He says, "So likewise ye, when ye shall see these things, know that it is near, even at the doors." What's at the doors? What's near? Gentile judgment. Gentiles get judged. Okay. Well, if they're going to have judgment, then they've got opportunity. Okay, if you're going to be judged as being good or bad, you had the opportunity to be good, right? Okay, so God's interested in Gentiles. Even before turning away from the Jew, the Gentile still had opportunity. So don't let anybody tell you that the Gentile had a bad deal. Gentile didn't have a bad deal. Israel had a better one, that's true. They got the oracles direct from God. That's good. But the Gentile had something good too, because God can judge them. If God can judge them, they had something they knew that was right and knew that was wrong. Joshua 10:10, and then we'll probably cut it off here. Joshua 10:10. Joshua 10:10. "And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth-horon, and smote them in Azekah unto Malach," that place. That too. Okay. Look at after the first comma. He slew them. Okay, he slew them. And now look at after the last comma. "And smote them." Did he kill them twice?
Slew them, chased them, smote them.
That's right. you'll find this little combination happens quite frequently in the Bible. And it means total annihilation. Smote and slew. When the two are used together, it means God's totally wiped it out. I'll give you the verses because we don't have time to read them. Joshua 10, verse 26. Joshua 11:17. 1 Samuel 17:35. 1 Samuel 17:50. 2 Samuel 4:7. 2 Samuel 10:18. 2 Samuel 14:6-7. 2 Kings 15:10. 2 Kings 15:14. 2 Kings 15:30. 2 Kings 25:21. Psalm 78:31. Psalms 135:10. And Jeremiah 41:2. Smote and slew means totally annihilate. And you've got to do some smiting and some slowing, whatever it is. All those. You've got to do that too. There's some things that need to be totally annihilated. And they're called giants. That's what David did. It says there wasn't any sword found in David's hand. So he took Goliath's sword and smote him and slew him and cut off his head therewith. Okay, there's some giants that have to be totally annihilated. Now God will help you do it, and there won't be anything in your hand to do it with, but he'll provide when you start smiting and slewing, slawing, whatever it is, the past tense. Yeah, and chasing. All right, that'll do it for tonight. Next week we'll start at Joshua 10:13.